All right, happy Friday to you. I'm Fox 26 meteorologist Ramisha Shade. We are just about there. We've almost made it to another weekend, and it's been yet another week where we have not had to deal with any action coming at us from the tropics in Houston or surrounding areas. However, here is the thing to note. We're getting closer and closer to the month of September, and as I've been telling you throughout the hurricane season, September is typically the busiest, most active month out of our entire hurricane season, of course, which started at the beginning of June and runs all the way to the end of November. So we've got a little bit more of August to get through, September 10th being the peak of hurricane season. So things could get active in a hurry. So just because we kind of have a little bit of a lull in the action right now, you don't want to let your guard down because things could get going and there's a chance one of these systems could pop up and head our way. Good news right now, that's not happening. But of course, an overview of what's happened so far this season will show you that we have had 5 named storms. We've got about 21 names on this list. Fortunately, we've only had to use 5, but Francine would be the next. But we've already had 2 tropical storms, Alberto and Chris, and of course, Beryl, Debbie, and Ernesto becoming hurricanes, and of course, the direct impact to the Houston area from Hurricane Beryl back on July 8th. So of course, we are looking ahead as far as what could possibly happen, what could come at us. We're looking ahead to September. And this is where we typically have the most issues or the highest concern that we could have a named storm that could blow up and turn into a big time tropical storm or hurricane. The highest risk is going to be back towards the western Atlantic and down around the Caribbean islands, maybe the Lesser Antilles, Greater Antilles, maybe down towards the Bahamas. Even into the Gulf of Mexico, there is a higher than average chance during the month of September for these potential tropical systems to form. So we've got to watch things closely. Just because it's quiet right now, like I said, it doesn't take that long. We've still got very warm waters out there, water temps well into the 80s for parts of the Atlantic, for much of the Caribbean Sea, for much of the Gulf of Mexico, so it won't take long if we get something going. This has kind of been helping us out a little bit. Notice our Saharan dust tracker, and notice that dust gets a little bit thicker back across central eastern parts of the Atlantic Ocean. Typically, we have these tropical waves, many of them, to develop right off of the coast of Africa. They move off of that western African coast and they ride all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. So it's harder for that to happen when you have all of that Saharan dust, which amounts to some drier air out there. So that kind of helps to limit or hinder these tropical systems from breaking out and kind of getting going. So for that reason, we're not expecting much at all to develop across the Atlantic basin. That would be the Atlantic Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea for at least the next 5 to 7 days or so. Things are looking fairly quiet. However, after that, we will be very close to September, and that means, of course, things can get active in a hurry. We are expecting some of that dust to kind of disperse, scatter out, and that is when we could have maybe storms lining up one after the other. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but just make sure you're prepared for anything. Make sure you have your hurricane gear ready to go, your insurance papers, make sure you know your evacuation routes, and just be ready because this is the time of the year that things could pop up quickly. All right, I've been talking about the Atlantic basin systems that would most likely impact us potentially, but now let's hop over to the central and eastern Pacific because this is basically where we have a lot of the action. We've got a tropical system trying to get going there. We've got Hurricane Gilma right here, and now we have another system getting close to Hawaii in the central Pacific. That is Tropical Storm Hone, which could bring some tropical storm conditions to the big island of Hawaii as we go into the second half of the weekend. First, let's talk about Hurricane Gilma. Not quite as strong as when I showed it yesterday. It is down to a Category 2 with 105 mile-per-hour winds as of the latest 4 p.m. advisory. It's not impacting any land area. It's just out over the open waters, but it is still fairly strong with winds, like I said, over 100 miles per hour, around 105 miles per hour, and even stronger wind gusts. Movement is fairly slow to the west, around 5 to 10 miles per hour. But here's the good news with Hurricane Gilma. As it continues to push to the west, it is expected to run into some cooler waters, so gradual weakening likely as we go into the next several days. So here is that track. Notice that it's under 100 miles per hour by 1 a.m. Sunday. Then as we go into the rest of next week, there is gradual weakening. And so as it continues to push west into that cooler water, that will kind of hinder it from getting stronger. In fact, it likely will get weaker. So I don't have any major concerns about Gilma hitting any land areas at this point. This is the one we're more concerned about. This is even farther out into the Pacific. Now we're talking about the Central Pacific, and this system was a tropical depression yesterday, but now it has a name, and that name is Hone. If you maybe have a weekend vacation to Hawaii, either Sunday or maybe into early parts of next week, you want to keep a close eye on this one. Or maybe you have friends and family in the Hawaii area, particularly the Big Island of Hawaii. Notice our spaghetti plots, our different computer models showing that this system likely will get very close to southern portions of the Big Island of Hawaii. Even though it may not be a direct hit, there's already a tropical storm watch out for the Big Island. That means winds over 50 miles per hour possible, several inches of rain potentially, and that big time surf, dangerous rip current. So I know all the surfers in Hawaii are probably excited about this, but everyone else, not so much. So as you can see, it's probably not going to be a direct hit. It will brush just to the south of likely the Big Island of Hawaii Sunday into Monday, and then it continues the path off to the west northwest. So nothing happening here with the tropics for the Houston area, but like I said, Pacific definitely very active, but nothing going on across the Atlantic basin for now.